Your mind is the one thing no outside force can ever truly command. This ancient idea sits at the heart of Stoicism, and it unlocks a quality far more powerful than controlling others: quiet dominance. We are about to walk through 25 specific Stoic affirmations designed to build this profound inner strength. By the end of this, you will possess a mental toolkit to remain unshakably calm and decisive, no matter what chaos life throws your way. How is it possible to see a personal failure not as a disaster, but as fuel for growth? What does it truly mean to possess everything you need within you right now? The answers forge a resilience that makes you the steady captain of your own life. What would it feel like to face your next big challenge with that kind of quiet confidence? Your power does not lie in stopping the storm, but in choosing how you will sail through it. This is the essence of our first affirmation: I control my perceptions, not events. The world will constantly present you with situations you did not ask for and cannot change. A project fails, a conversation turns sour, plans crumble. The initial, raw reaction is often frustration or even anger, a feeling that the world is against you. But Stoicism asks a revolutionary question: what if the problem is not the event itself, but the story you are telling yourself about it? Your perception is the lens through which you view everything. A critical comment from a colleague can be seen as a personal attack, leaving you defensive and resentful. Or you can choose to see it as a data point, a piece of feedback that, however poorly delivered, might contain a kernel of truth you can use to improve. This is not about pretending the feedback feels good. It is about recognizing that your power resides in that space between the event and your response. In that space, you can pause and ask, what is the most useful way to view this? How can this challenge strengthen me? This reframing transforms an obstacle into a training ground. It is the foundation of quiet dominance because it means your inner peace and purpose are no longer held hostage by external forces. You become the unwavering center of your own world. So how do you build this reflex, this ability to pause and choose your lens before frustration takes over? It begins with a simple morning ritual. Before the day's demands even start, take just 2 minutes of quiet. In that stillness, do not plan your schedule. Instead, mentally rehearse the potential challenges you might face. Visualize a difficult meeting or a tedious task and consciously decide how you will perceive it. See it not as a personal inconvenience, but as an opportunity to practice patience or clarity. This is not about expecting the worst, it is about preemptively claiming your power over how you will interpret events. Then, as the day closes, conduct a brief evening review. Look back at one moment where your reaction was strong. Ask yourself honestly, was my perception helping me or harming me? Did I see that interruption as a personal insult or simply as a neutral event? This is not self-criticism, it is training. This practice of daily preparation and reflection builds the mental muscle for cognitive distancing. Cognitive distancing is that crucial skill of observing your own thoughts as if they were clouds passing in the sky. Instead of truth, you must immediately obey. You feel a surge of anger and think, my boss is trying to undermine me. Cognitive distancing allows you to step back and say, I am having the thought that my boss is trying to undermine me. That tiny shift creates all the difference. It inserts a space between the trigger and your response, giving you back your freedom to choose. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, mastered this through his private writings. In his meditations, he constantly reminded himself to separate perception from reality. He would write things like, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. He was not just writing philosophy, he was actively doing his evening review, untangling his perceptions from the immense pressures of ruling an empire. He was building, day by day, that quiet command over his inner state, the very foundation of a resilient and dominant mind. This inner command over your perception naturally leads to a deeper priority, the cultivation of an unshakable inner peace. The second affirmation makes this goal explicit. My inner peace is my ultimate priority. But what does inner peace actually mean here? It is not a passive state of feeling blissful all the time, nor is it about avoiding conflict. In the Stoic tradition, this is ataraxia, a profound tranquility that comes from one source alone, living in accordance with virtue and reason. Think of it as the calm that emerges when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable and instead focus all your energy on what you can truly command, your own judgments, your values, and your actions. To make this your ultimate priority is a radical declaration. It means you consciously place the state of your own soul above the chase for external validation, above the pursuit of wealth, and even above the desire for constant pleasure. Why? Because the Stoics observed a fundamental truth of human psychology. When you anchor your sense of worth and happiness to things outside your control, you hand over the keys to your emotional state. You are essentially saying, my peace depends on my boss praising me, or on my bank account reaching a certain number, or on everyone liking me. This is a recipe for perpetual anxiety because those external things are fickle and fleeting. They can be given and they can be taken away in an instant, but when you anchor your worth to your inner character, to your integrity, your courage, and your wisdom, you build your foundation on something no one can take from you. This is the hallmark of the Stoic sage. It is the difference between a tree with shallow roots that is easily toppled by the first strong wind, and a deeply rooted oak that stands firm through the storm. The winds still blow, the rain still falls, but the tree is not uprooted. Your life will have its storms, its disappointments, and its unexpected gusts of misfortune. This affirmation is what keeps you rooted. When you feel the pull of anxiety because a deal fell through, or the sting of anger from a criticism, you return to this simple, powerful statement. My inner peace is my ultimate priority. Is getting upset going to restore the deal? Will holding onto this anger improve my character? The answer almost always points you back to tranquility, back to that deep, steady core that remains unmoved by the weather outside. This is not selfishness, it is the highest form of self-command, the quiet dominance that allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength, not neediness. That deep, steady core is not built by avoiding life's rough waters, but by learning to navigate them with purpose. I embrace obstacles as the raw material for my growth. This is the powerful Stoic principle that author Ryan Holiday later called the obstacle is the way. It is a complete reframing of adversity itself. An obstacle is no longer a roadblock on your path, it becomes the very path itself. Every single difficulty you encounter, from a frustrating traffic jam to the collapse of a cherished plan, is secretly packed with the raw materials you need to build a stronger character. A failed project is not just a failure, it is a hands-on seminar in resilience. It teaches you what does not work, forcing you to adapt and innovate. A personal conflict is not merely an unpleasant argument, it is a gym for your patience and your empathy, challenging you to understand a perspective wildly different from your own. These are the moments that let you practice the virtues you most want to embody. You cannot practice courage without facing fear. You cannot build perseverance without encountering resistance. The quiet dominance we are cultivating is not a shield that protects you from these fires. It is the strength that is forged within them. Consider the story of a small business owner whose first venture fails completely. The initial perception is one of total defeat, a financial and personal blow. But by embracing this obstacle as raw material, the narrative shifts. The failure becomes a brutal but invaluable education. It taught them about cash flow, about market needs they had misjudged, about their own limits in management. These were all painful lessons, but they were the exact lessons needed. That person takes that raw material, the hard-won knowledge and the toughened resolve, and builds a second venture. This new enterprise is stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more successful precisely because it was constructed from the lessons of the first collapse. The obstacle did not just lead to a new way, it was the way. This is the alchemy of Stoic practice, turning the lead of misfortune into the gold of wisdom. When you internalize this affirmation, you stop seeing challenges as enemies to be defeated and start seeing them as the essential training partners for the person you are destined to become. That unassailable character, forged in the fires of adversity, points to something even more fundamental. Your character is your only true possession. Everything else you might value, from the money in your bank account to the opinions others hold of you, belongs to a category the Stoics called indifference. This does not mean they are unimportant or that you should not prefer health over sickness or wealth over poverty. It means their presence or absence does not determine your moral worth. They are externals on loan from fortune, and they can be taken away in a heartbeat. A market crash can erase your wealth. A single rumor can tarnish your reputation. An unexpected illness can steal your physical strength, but there is one thing that remains entirely, 100% within your control: your character, your integrity, your virtue. No external force can ever make you dishonest if you choose to be truthful. No person can force you to be cowardly if you choose to be brave. This is the ultimate sanctuary of your power. The story of Epictetus brings this idea to life with stunning clarity. He was born a slave, his body owned by another man. He endured a life of physical hardship and had absolutely no control over his external circumstances. Yet, through his dedication to Stoic philosophy, he cultivated a character so strong, so virtuous, that he considered himself truly free. His owner could chain his body, but he could not chain his mind or his will. Epictetus taught that our frustrations in life arise not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. By focusing all his energy on the one thing he truly owned, his moral purpose, he achieved a quiet dominance that no master could ever touch. He was eventually freed and became one of the most influential teachers of his age, not because he acquired power, but because he realized he had possessed it all along. This affirmation shifts your entire focus in life. It moves you from chasing external validation to cultivating an inner citadel. When your primary goal is to be a person of wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline, you are no longer vulnerable to the whims of fate. Your sense of self is no longer tied to things that can be lost. This is the bedrock of quiet dominance, a power that is felt not through loud commands, but through the silent, unwavering strength of a person who knows exactly who they are and what they stand for, regardless of what life takes away. This radical shift in focus from externals to your inner character demands a precise mental tool to make it work. I am not disturbed by what is outside my control. This simple statement is the practical engine of Stoic peace. It all hinges on a concept called the dichotomy of control, a clear line drawn between two distinct territories. On one side are the things within your power, your own judgments, your values, your desires, and the actions you choose to take. This is your sovereign domain. On the other side is everything else, the vast and chaotic world of externals. This includes the opinions and actions of other people, events that have already happened, your reputation, your wealth, and even your own body's health to a large degree. Trying to command this external territory is like trying to stop the rain by shouting at the clouds. It is a guaranteed recipe for exhaustion and frustration. The power of this affirmation is that it acts as an instant mental filter. When a wave of anxiety or anger hits, you pause and run it through this simple test. Is the source of my disturbance inside or outside my control? Your coworker's rude comment is outside your control. The traffic jam making you late is outside your control. The stock market's performance is outside your control. By consciously acknowledging this, you are not ignoring the situation. You are making a deliberate choice to withdraw your emotional investment from a fruitless endeavor. You stop fighting the unwinnable war, and in that moment your disturbance begins to dissolve. The emotional energy you once wasted on fretting over things you cannot change is now freed up, conserved for the one place it can actually make a difference: your own responses and actions. This is how quiet dominance is built, not by eliminating life's challenges, but by ceasing to be a volunteer in your own distress. To make this a reflex, you need to train your mind to see the line clearly. Start a simple daily exercise. Each evening, take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left, label it internals and list the things that were truly up to you that day. Your effort on a project, your patience with a difficult person, your decision to be honest when it was easier to lie. On the right, label it externals and list the things that were not up to you. Your boss' mood, the negative news headline, the weather that cancelled your plans. The act of writing this out is transformative. You visually see how much mental space you are giving to the externals, the things you cannot command. Over time, this practice rewires your attention. You start to instinctively invest your energy where it counts, in your own choices, and gracefully release your grip on the rest. This is the ultimate conservation of power, focusing your finite will on the infinite territory of your own character. That deliberate pause between what happens and what you do next is where your power truly lies. This brings us to one of the most practical affirmations: I respond, I do not react. A reaction is an impulsive, emotional outburst. It is the immediate, hot-tempered snap when someone cuts you off in traffic, or the defensive, cutting remark you fire back in a meeting. It is your lizard brain taking the wheel, driven by fear, anger, or pride. A response, however, is something entirely different. It is a considered, rational action. It is the deep breath you take before speaking, the moment you choose to ask a clarifying question instead of launching a counterattack. This simple shift from reaction to response is the master key to maintaining composure under immense pressure. On a physiological level, when you feel threatened or challenged, your body floods with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This is the fight or flight response, and its only goal is survival, not thoughtful communication. It narrows your focus, speeds up your heart, and prepares your body for a physical confrontation. In a modern boardroom or a heated family discussion, this ancient wiring is a liability. It makes you say things you will regret, things that escalate conflict and burn bridges. The act of pausing, even for just 3 seconds, interrupts this chemical cascade. It gives your prefrontal cortex, the rational, thinking part of your brain, a chance to catch up and take command. Psychologically, this pause is a declaration of sovereignty over your own mind. It is you reminding yourself, I am not a puppet whose strings are pulled by every external event. I am the one who decides what happens next. Consider a high-stakes scenario, a heated argument with a partner where accusations are flying. The reactive path is a downward spiral. They say something hurtful, and you immediately react with something even more hurtful. The volume rises, the focus shifts from the original issue to personal attacks, and the damage can take days or weeks to repair. Now imagine applying this affirmation in the same scenario. They say something hurtful. Instead of your words firing back instantly, you feel the heat rise in your chest and you consciously choose to pause. You might even say, I need a moment before I answer that. In that space, you reconnect with your ultimate priority, your inner peace. You ask yourself, what is my goal here? Is it to win this argument, or is it to resolve this conflict and strengthen our relationship? With that clarity, your response emerges. It might be, I can tell you are very upset and I want to understand why. Can you help me see this from your perspective? This does not mean you roll over and agree. It means you communicate from a place of calm authority. You de-escalate the situation instantly. You demonstrate in real time a quiet dominance that is far more persuasive than any shouted ultimatum. You become the steady anchor in the emotional storm, and that is a power people instinctively respect. That powerful shift from reacting to responding is fueled by a profound inner conviction, the belief that virtue is its own reward. In a world that often measures success by applause, promotions, and possessions, this Stoic idea stands as a quiet rebellion. It declares that the highest good, the ultimate aim of life, is to live with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, and the reward for this life is not a trophy or a bonus, it is the life itself. The moment you start doing the right thing in order to receive praise or a material payoff, you have subtly handed your moral compass over to someone else. You are no longer acting from integrity, but from a desire for external validation. The good deed becomes a transaction, and your sense of worth becomes dependent on whether the world pays up. The Stoic, however, acts rightly because it is the right thing to do, period. The satisfaction, the deep and lasting sense of fulfillment, comes from the alignment between your actions and your core values. This is an internal source of strength that no one can grant you and no one can take away. It makes you immune to the fickle opinions of others because you are no longer performing for their approval. Your audience is your own conscience. Consider the story of Cato the Younger, a Roman senator known for his granite-like integrity. In a political system drowning in corruption and backroom deals, Cato refused to play the game. He would openly criticize powerful figures, vote against popular but unjust laws, and live a life of stark simplicity, all because he believed it was right. He knew this stance would make him enemies. He knew it would cost him political influence and personal wealth, and it did. Yet he never wavered. His reward was not victory. He ultimately lost his political battles and died by his own hand rather than submit to a tyrant. His reward was something far greater in the Stoic view, the unshakable knowledge that he had remained true to his principles until the very end. His contemporaries, even his enemies, spoke of him with a kind of awe, not for his power but for the sheer force of his character. This is the essence of quiet dominance. It is the strength that comes from knowing with absolute certainty that you have done what is right. That internal satisfaction is a fuel that burns clean and long, far outlasting the fleeting high of any external reward. When you internalize this affirmation, you stop asking, "What will I get for this?" and start asking, "What is the right thing to do?" The answer to that question becomes your compass, guiding you with a steady hand through any storm of uncertainty or pressure. This quiet, commanding grace is most powerfully tested when someone pushes directly against you. Today, I will meet interference with kindness. At first glance, this might sound like an instruction to become a doormat, to smile weakly while others walk all over you. But Stoicism frames this as an act of immense strength, a strategic application of virtue. The key lies in a fundamental Stoic insight: people do not choose to be wicked or rude. They act from their own ignorance of what is truly good, or from their own internal pain and confusion. When a person cuts you off in traffic, they are not a villain targeting you personally. They are likely consumed by haste, anxiety, or simple thoughtlessness. When a coworker snaps at you with a rude comment, it is far more often a reflection of their own stress, insecurity, or a bad day than a calculated attack on your character. Understanding this completely changes the dynamic. Their action is a symptom of their own lack of wisdom. Your response then becomes a demonstration of yours. Choosing kindness in that heated moment is not weakness. It is the ultimate power move. It means you are so secure in your own inner citadel that their chaos cannot shake you. You see their interference not as a personal insult to be avenged, but as an opportunity to practice the very virtues you are cultivating: patience, understanding, and self-control. Think of a time you were in a long line and someone pushed ahead, clearly impatient and irritable. The reactive path is to glare, to mutter under your breath, or to confront them with equal irritation. This immediately creates a conflict, raising your own blood pressure and adding more negativity to the situation. Now, imagine the alternative. You take that pause. You see their agitation not as a personal affront, but as their own struggle. you respond with a calm tone, perhaps saying, "It looks like you are in a real hurry, go ahead." This act of unexpected kindness does two profound things. First, it completely disarms the conflict. It is almost impossible for the other person to sustain their aggression in the face of genuine grace. Second, and more importantly for you, it reinforces your own quiet dominance. You have just proven to yourself that you are in command of your emotions. You have turned a moment of potential friction into a display of your own strength. This principle scales to every level of interaction. That difficult colleague who constantly criticizes your ideas can be met with patience. Instead of reacting defensively, you can lean in with curiosity. You could say, "I appreciate you pushing on this. It helps us strengthen the plan. Can you help me understand your specific concern?" This approach does not mean you agree with them. It means you are mature enough to mine even harsh criticism for useful data, all while maintaining your composure. You elevate the conversation from a personal battle to a collaborative problem-solving session. In doing so, you embody a quiet, commanding grace that earns respect far more deeply than any argument ever could. You become the person who cools the fire rather than the one who pours gasoline on it. And in that calm space you create, your true influence can grow. This profound sense of self-sufficiency is the bedrock of a truly independent mind. I possess everything I need within me right now. This affirmation, known to the Stoics as autarkeia, is a direct challenge to the modern cult of scarcity that tells us we are perpetually incomplete. We are bombarded with messages that we need a newer car to be happy, a higher title to be respected, or more followers to be valued. This constant striving creates a state of quiet desperation where our sense of self is forever tied to the next acquisition or achievement. Stoicism offers a radical alternative. It asserts that the fundamental resources for a good life, for happiness, for courage, and for resilience are not external prizes to be hunted. They are innate human capacities, and they are powered by one simple tool you already possess, your reasoning mind. Think of it this way: courage is not something you find in a bottle of supplements or a motivational seminar. It is the capacity to feel fear and still choose to take the right action. That capacity is already inside you, waiting to be exercised. Resilience is not a trait owned only by a lucky few. It is the ability to process disappointment and learn from it, a skill your mind is perfectly equipped to develop. By believing this affirmation, you perform a kind of mental alchemy. You stop looking at the world through a lens of lack, and you begin to see your own internal abundance. This shift is transformative. Envy dissolves because you no longer see another person's success, car, or relationship as something you are missing. You recognize that your own peace and capability do not depend on possessing what they have. That desperate, hungry seeking for external validation evaporates because you realize you are already the source of your own worth. You begin to operate from a place of profound confidence, not the arrogant kind that boasts, but the quiet kind that knows, no matter what happens, you have the inner tools to handle it. This is the essence of that quiet dominance. You are no longer a beggar at the banquet of life, hoping for a scrap of praise or a stroke of good fortune. You have built an internal fortress, a self-contained citadel where you are whole and capable, entirely on your own terms. The storms may rage outside, but inside, you are the unshakable master of your own resources. This inner citadel, rich with its own resources, requires constant and careful tending. My mind is a garden. I choose which thoughts to cultivate. This is not just a pleasant metaphor, it is the core of the Stoic discipline of attention, a practice the Greeks called prosoph. Your mind is not a blank slate or a passive receiver of random thoughts. It is a plot of fertile soil where every single impression, every passing idea is a seed. Left unattended, the seeds of worry, of resentment, of irrational fear will take root. They do not ask for your permission, they simply grow, and soon your inner landscape is overrun with the weeds of anxiety and anger, choking out your peace and clarity. But you are the gardener. Your most fundamental power is the ability to walk through this garden each day and decide which seedlings to water and nurture and which to pluck out the moment you spot them. This is the disciplined work behind a quiet, dominant mind. It is what makes it orderly and productive instead of chaotic and reactive. So how do you become a skilled gardener of your own thoughts? It begins with recognition. You must learn to identify the weeds. A catastrophic thought appears. What if my presentation is a total disaster and I get fired? That is a weed. A complaint arises. I cannot stand this rainy weather. It is ruining my whole day. That is a weed. The moment you notice it, you have already taken the first, most crucial step. You have stopped being the thought and have started observing it. Now you wield your weeding tools. For a catastrophic thought, challenge it with reason. Ask, is it absolutely certain this will happen? What is a more balanced and likely outcome? This is not naive optimism. It is a recalibration toward reality. For a complaint, perform a simple replacement. The thought, this weather is ruining my day, can be consciously swapped for, the rain is watering the plants and I am grateful for this warm coat and a dry place to work. This is not about denying frustration, but about choosing a more useful and virtuous perspective. This daily practice is a form of mental hygiene. Just as you would not let physical weeds overtake a beautiful garden, you cannot let mental weeds strangle your inner peace. Every time you successfully challenge a negative impulse or replace a complaint with a moment of gratitude, you are not just solving one small problem. You are strengthening the gardener. You are reinforcing the quiet, commanding voice within that says, I am in charge here. This is how you cultivate a mind that is not a wild, untamed forest of reactions, but a serene, purposeful, and deeply resilient sanctuary. The strength of your inner garden depends entirely on the quality of the soil, and that soil is reality itself. I see the world as it is, not as I wish it to be. This is the Stoic call for amor fati, a love of fate, but it has nothing to do with passive resignation. It is the ultimate act of clear-eyed power. Most of our suffering does not come from the events of our lives, but from the gap between those events and our private stories about how things should be. We wish for a promotion, and when it does not happen, we tell ourselves a story about unfairness. We wish for perfect health, and when a diagnosis arrives, we fall into a story of despair. These stories, these wishes, are like filters that color everything we see, and they are the primary source of our pain. To see the world as it is to remove those filters. It is to look at the raw, unfiltered facts of a situation without the sentimental commentary of your hopes and fears. A market downturn is not a personal betrayal by the economy, it is a shift in conditions. A difficult medical diagnosis is not a cosmic punishment, it is a new set of biological data. When you accept these facts with objectivity, you are not giving up. You are finally stepping onto solid ground. From that place of truth, you can begin to build. Despair is what happens when you are fighting reality. Effective action is what happens when you accept it and ask the only question that matters. Given that this is true, what is the most constructive thing I can do now? Imagine two business owners facing the same recession. The first spends their days lamenting the unfairness, clinging to the wish that things would just go back to the way they were. Their energy is drained by resistance and they fail to adapt. The second owner looks at the exact same economic data, accepts it without complaint, and says, all right, this is the new landscape. How can I pivot my services, reduce my costs, or find a new opportunity within these constraints? The second owner is practicing quiet dominance. They are not wasting a single ounce of energy on what should be. All their focus is channeled into what can be done. This is the profound power of this affirmation. It transforms you from a victim of circumstance into a clear-sighted architect of your response. You trade the fragile comfort of your wishes for the unshakable strength that comes from dealing with the world on its own terms. This vast, objective view of the world instantly connects you to a larger whole. I am a citizen of the world. The ancient Stoics called this cosmopolitanism, a revolutionary idea that your primary identity is not as a member of a single tribe, city, or nation, but as a part of a single, universal community of all rational beings. This is not a vague, feel-good sentiment. It is a philosophical stance that actively dismantles the walls of us versus them. When you internalize this, your perspective expands from the narrow concerns of your personal circle to the grand, interconnected web of humanity. The person serving you coffee, the politician you disagree with, the stranger in a distant country facing a hardship you will never know, these are not outsiders. They are your brothers and sisters in reason, all navigating the same human condition with the same fundamental capacity for wisdom and error. This shift in perception is a profound source of quiet dominance. How? Because it reframes the very source of your concerns. The petty grievance, the personal slight that might have ruined your entire morning, now appears in its true scale as a tiny speck in the grand tapestry of human existence. Your focus naturally lifts from these minor irritations to larger, more meaningful questions. How can I act with justice in this situation? How can I extend compassion here? Your sense of duty expands from just yourself and your immediate family to the entire human family. This does not mean you neglect your close relationships. It means you engage with everyone from a place of fundamental respect, recognizing the shared spark of reason within them, even when it is obscured by their actions. Imagine you are stuck in a long, slow-moving line. The reactive, narrow perspective is to see everyone else as obstacles in your way, their presence a personal inconvenience. But the cosmopolitan perspective allows you to see the same scene differently. The elderly person ahead of you is moving slowly with dignity. The stressed parent behind you is managing a restless child. You are all participants in a shared human moment, all dealing with the same minor frustration. This recognition fosters patience not as a forced virtue, but as a natural outflow of your expanded identity. You are no longer an isolated individual fighting a hostile world. You are a cell in a larger body, and your well-being is intertwined with the whole. This mindset is the ultimate antidote to tribalism and prejudice. It grants you a quiet dominance because your self-worth is no longer tied to your group outperforming another. Your identity is too vast for that. You can engage in debates without dehumanizing your opponent, understanding that they, like you, are using their reason as best they can. You can face global challenges not with paralyzing fear, but with a sober sense of shared responsibility. This affirmation builds a quiet inner fortitude that remains unshaken by the small storms of personal drama, because you are anchored to something infinitely larger than yourself. This timeless wisdom echoes a fundamental law of the universe as the Stoics saw it. The cosmos is not a static museum, but a living, breathing river in a state of perpetual change. Everything you see, from the grandest mountain to the smallest thought in your mind, is in motion, arising and passing away in an endless dance. This affirmation, "This too shall pass," is your way of aligning your mind with that cosmic truth. It is a practical tool for navigating the two most deceptive currents of life, crushing hardship and intoxicating pleasure. When you are in the depths of pain, whether from a personal loss or a professional failure, the feeling can be so total it seems like it will last forever. The weight feels permanent, but this reminder pulls you back to reality. Just as a storm, no matter how violent, eventually exhausts itself, your present difficulty is also a temporary state. It is not a life sentence. This knowledge does not erase the pain, but it surrounds it with a border of hope, preventing it from consuming your entire identity. Conversely, when you're riding a wave of success, celebrated and praised, the affirmation serves an equally vital role. It whispers a quiet warning against arrogance. This applause, this peak of good fortune, is also fleeting. By remembering its temporary nature, you enjoy the moment without becoming dependent on it. You avoid the trap of believing you have somehow conquered the river itself. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly meditated on this, reminding himself of the fate of even the most celebrated figures. He would write of famous orators and powerful generals, asking where their fame was now, reduced to old stories and dust. He was not being morbid, he was practicing mental hygiene, ensuring that neither the adulation of the masses nor the threats of his enemies could unbalance him. Consider the story of a celebrated athlete at the very peak of their career. They are on every magazine cover, their name is a household word, and the world seems to be at their feet. If they believe this is their new, permanent reality, the eventual decline, whether from age, injury, or simply the public's fickle attention, will be a devastating crash. But if they carry the Stoic reminder, this too shall pass, they can receive the accolades with grace and humility. They understand that this moment is a beautiful, temporary crest on the wave. This mindset allows them to prepare for the next phase of life with the same focus and discipline, perhaps transitioning into coaching or another venture without the crippling identity crisis that so often follows fame. This long view is the essence of equanimity. It allows you to hold both joy and sorrow lightly, knowing that neither is your final destination. You develop the quiet dominance of a seasoned sailor who understands the ocean is made of both calm and storm, and who trusts in their own ability to navigate through all of it without ever mistaking a single wave for the entire sea. This harmony with the cosmos transforms your very desires from sources of struggle into engines of purpose. My will is in harmony with nature's plan. At its core, Stoicism sees nature not as trees and rivers, but as the entire rational, unfolding order of the universe, a principle the ancients called the logos. This is not a random, chaotic sequence of events. It is a coherent whole where everything happens according to a web of cause and effect. To live in accordance with nature means to align your inner world, your will, with this external reality. Think of a mighty river flowing to the sea. You are in a small boat on that river. You can choose to paddle frantically upstream, fighting the current with all your might, exhausting yourself against an irresistible force. This is what most of us do when we desire reality to be different than it is. We want the river to flow backwards for our convenience, or you can accept the river's direction and use your oars to navigate its currents, steering around rocks and riding its energy toward your goals. The river's flow is nature's plan. Your skillful navigation is your will in harmony with it. Frustration, anxiety, and anger are not caused by the events themselves. They are the exhaustion and splashing that comes from paddling upstream. They arise from the silent, stubborn demand that things should be other than they are. A sudden rainstorm cancels your outdoor event. The frustration you feel is the mental resistance to that fact. You are arguing with the weather, but by aligning your will, you accept the rain as part of the day's unfolding reality. Your energy instantly shifts from futile complaint to adaptive action. Okay, the event is moved indoors. How can we make this new version wonderful? This is not passive surrender. It is dynamic cooperation with the facts on the ground. This harmonious alignment is the ultimate expression of quiet dominance because it ends the internal civil war. Your energy is no longer divided between fighting reality and living your life. All of your power is consolidated, focused on navigating the world as it actually exists. You become like a seasoned sailor who does not curse the wind but simply adjusts the sails. This is how you find a profound sense of purpose within the great flow. You are not a victim of random chance but a conscious participant in a vast, interconnected system. Your role is to play your part with excellence, wisdom, and virtue, whatever the current brings. This harmonious alignment with reality directs our attention to the only part of the journey we truly command, our own effort. I focus on the process, not the outcome. This is the Stoic art of placing your entire mind and energy on the actions you are taking right now, while gently releasing your grip on the final result. Why? Because the outcome is a complex mix of your effort and 1,000 other variables you cannot control, from luck to the decisions of other people. When you chain your sense of worth and satisfaction to that unpredictable result, you hand over your emotional stability to forces beyond your command. You set yourself up for a roller coaster of anxiety before the event and potential despair or arrogance afterward. But the process, your preparation, your focus, your integrity in the moment, that is your sovereign territory. This is where your power lies. Think of a master sculptor at work on a block of marble. If they are obsessed from the start with winning a specific award or receiving a certain price for the finished piece, every strike of the chisel is fraught with tension. A small mistake feels catastrophic because it threatens the desired outcome. Their creativity is stifled by fear. But if that same sculptor focuses entirely on the process, on the feel of the tool in their hand, on the careful study of the stone's grain, on the precise, loving application of their skill with each strike, something remarkable happens. The work itself becomes the reward. The deep satisfaction comes from knowing they are executing their craft with excellence, right here, right now. Whether the final statue wins an award or not becomes almost secondary. The sculptor who works this way is not only calmer and more resilient, they are also far more likely to produce their best possible work because their mind is fully present in the creative act, not distracted by fantasies of future praise. This principle scales to every endeavor. A student who focuses on the process of truly understanding the material, page by page, will experience less exam anxiety and ultimately learn more deeply than the student who is only fixated on the final grade. A salesperson who focuses on the process of understanding each client's needs and providing genuine value will build stronger relationships and, ironically, often achieve better results than the one who is only counting commissions. Your self-worth becomes anchored to something solid and reliable, your own dedicated effort. You build a quiet dominance rooted in the knowledge that you showed up fully, you gave your best, and that in itself is a victory no external judge can ever take away from you. Your life is not a story being written for you. It is a story you are actively writing with every single choice you make. This is the power behind the affirmation, I am the author of my own life. Fate or the circumstances of your birth may have dealt you a certain hand of cards. You did not choose your parents, your native country, or the economic landscape you were born into. These are the cards you were given, but the game is not about the cards you hold, it is about how you choose to play them. Your judgments, your deeply held values, and the actions you take are your own creation. This perspective is the ultimate antidote to a victim mentality. The victim believes they are merely a character in a story written by a cruel or indifferent author, buffeted by forces they cannot influence. The author, however, knows they hold the pen. They understand that while they cannot control the plot twists, they have absolute sovereignty over how their character develops, what they learn, and how they respond to each challenge. This is the very essence of self-determination. Consider two people working in the same difficult job with a demanding and unreasonable manager. The person operating from a victim mentality will feel trapped and powerless. Their inner narrative is one of complaint. I am stuck here because of this terrible boss. My life is miserable because of this job. They give away their power, believing their emotional state is caused by their manager's behavior. The author, facing the exact same situation, recognizes the constraint but focuses on their sphere of control. They might think, I cannot change my boss's personality, but I can choose my own conduct. I can choose to be professional, to do my work with integrity, and to use this environment to practice patience and resilience. I can choose to update my resume and quietly search for a new role, taking decisive action rather than passive complaint. The external circumstance is identical, but the internal experience is worlds apart. One person feels like a prisoner, the other remains the captain of their own soul. Taking full authorship of your inner narrative is the most profound form of quiet dominance you can wield. It means you stop blaming outside forces for your anger, your resentment, or your lack of progress. You look inward and ask, what story am I telling myself about this situation, and is it serving me? Could I write a better, more empowering story? You are not denying the difficulty of your circumstances. You are simply claiming your power to write the next chapter from a place of strength, not weakness. This is how you build a life of intention, a story you will be proud to have lived. This shift from author to student marks a profound deepening of your quiet dominance. I practice gratitude for the lesson in every situation. At first, this can sound almost impossible, even insulting. How can you be grateful for a painful loss, a professional failure, or the actions of a cruel person? Stoicism is not asking for that. This is not about forcing a smile and pretending the pain does not exist. It is a strategic and powerful reframing, a deliberate search for the hidden curriculum embedded within the hardship itself. A difficult person is not a welcome guest, but they are an unparalleled instructor in patience and emotional self-regulation. A humiliating failure feels terrible, but it is a masterclass in humility, stripping away arrogance and revealing where your true weaknesses lie. A deep loss carves a hollow space inside you, and in that emptiness you often discover with stark clarity what you truly value and what was merely superficial. When you start to look for the lesson, you are no longer a passive victim of circumstance. You become an active miner, extracting the gold of wisdom from the rough rock of experience. Your entire life, with all its ups and downs, transforms into a personal school for the soul. Every single day presents a new set of classes, and your job is simply to show up and learn. This practice builds a resilient core that does not just endure hardship, but metabolizes it into strength. To build this habit, try a simple Stoic gratitude journal exercise each evening. Do not just list the good things that happened. That is a wonderful practice, but this goes deeper. Take a moment and think of one specific challenge or frustration you faced today. Then write down a single sentence that starts with, "I am grateful for this situation because it taught me." For instance, if you were stuck in terrible traffic, you might write, "I am grateful for the traffic because it taught me to practice patience and to value a few moments of quiet reflection." If a coworker was particularly dismissive of your idea, you could write, "I am grateful for that interaction because it taught me to clarify my communication and to strengthen my conviction in my own work." The lesson does not have to be grandiose. The goal is to train your mind to automatically scan for the constructive element in every experience. Over time, this ceases to be an exercise and becomes your default perspective. You will find yourself in the middle of a difficult moment, and a small, quiet voice in your head will ask, "What is this here to teach me?" That question is a lever that instantly pries you out of a state of powerless reaction and into a state of empowered learning. You stop seeing the world as a series of random events that happen to you, and you start seeing it as a wise, if sometimes harsh, teacher that is constantly presenting you with the exact lessons you need to grow. The power you hold in your mind is worthless if it is wasted by your tongue. I speak only what is necessary, true, and kind. This affirmation is the practical application of the Stoic discipline of assent to your daily communication. It is a conscious filter for every word before it leaves your lips. Is this necessary to say? Will it add value or simply add noise? Is it objectively true, or is it just my opinion or a rumor I heard? And finally, is it kind? Is it spoken with a constructive purpose, even when the truth is difficult? When you apply this three-part test, you quickly realize how much of ordinary conversation is filled with what fails it: gossip that is neither necessary nor kind, complaints that are not true representations of reality, and impulsive reactions that serve no purpose but to create conflict. Reckless speech is a leak in your inner citadel. Every time you engage in gossip, you are not just talking about someone else. You are training your own mind to focus on the trivial and the negative. Every complaint you voice reinforces a narrative of powerlessness, telling your own brain that you are a victim of circumstances. This creates internal chaos, a mind cluttered with judgment and resentment. Externally, it erodes trust. People learn they cannot confide in you, and they see you as a source of drama rather than calm. Measured speech, in stark contrast, builds immense authority. When you are known as a person who speaks sparingly, truthfully, and with compassion, your words carry weight. People lean in to listen because they know you will not waste their time with trivia or poison. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a master of this. In his letters, he constantly advised his friends on the power of silence and thoughtful dialogue. He wrote that we should be slow to speak and deliberate in our words, arguing that a wise person speaks because they have something to say, while a fool speaks because they have to say something. He practiced this in his own role as a senator and advisor, understanding that in the halls of power, a carefully chosen sentence could save a life, while a reckless one could end one. Mastering your tongue is a direct and visible display of quiet dominance. It proves you have conquered the primitive impulse to blurt out every passing thought and raw emotion. It shows the world that you are not a puppet whose strings are pulled by every irritation, but a sovereign individual who commands the very air around you with intention and grace. This unshakable steadiness has a name in Stoic philosophy: equanimity. It is the calm, balanced state of a mind that is no longer tossed between the highs of manic elation and the lows of crushing despair. This affirmation is a declaration of that hard-won inner stability. To be clear, this is not about becoming numb or emotionless. It is about ensuring your emotions are proportionate, rational, and serve you rather than rule you. It is the difference between a ripple on a deep, still pond and a chaotic storm surge in a shallow puddle. So how do you build a mind that remains a pond and not a puddle? The Stoics had two powerful mental drills for this. The first is negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This is the deliberate practice of mentally rehearsing the loss of the things you cherish. You do not do this to dwell on misery, but to inoculate yourself against the shock of misfortune. Take a quiet moment and truly imagine it. Visualize your career ending abruptly. Picture a treasured relationship dissolving. Contemplate the reality of a serious health diagnosis. This sounds grim, but its purpose is profoundly liberating. By willingly visiting this mental space, you accomplish two things. You rob future hardship of its element of surprise so it cannot ambush your peace. And more importantly, you awaken a fierce, present-moment gratitude for what you have right now. You hold your loved ones a little closer. You appreciate your health a little more deeply because you have consciously acknowledged its fragility. This practice builds a baseline of contentment that external events cannot easily disrupt. The second drill is the view from above. When a problem feels all-consuming, you shrink it by expanding your perspective. Close your eyes and pull your mind's eye back, up and out. See your city from above, then your country, then the spinning blue marble of the earth hanging in the vast black silence of space. From this cosmic vantage point, your personal crisis, your urgent deadline, your social slight is reduced to its true scale. It is not meaningless, but it is contained. This mental shift does not solve the problem for you, but it returns your inner state to one of calm command from which you can address it effectively. Together, these practices forge an equanimity that allows you to meet all of life, its triumphs and its tragedies, with the same steady, unwavering presence. You feel the joy and the pain, but you are not drowned by them. You remain the calm captain on the bridge, your hand steady on the wheel, no matter the weather outside. That steady presence on the bridge of your own mind requires a decisive act of navigation, one that leaves the past and future in their proper places. I leave the past behind and the future to itself. This is not a suggestion to be irresponsible or to avoid planning. It is a strategic command to reclaim the only territory where your power is absolute, the present moment. Obsessing over a past mistake is like a ship's captain staring endlessly at the wake behind the vessel. The wake is already done, its shape is fixed, and no amount of staring will change its course. All that does is guarantee you will run aground on the rocks directly ahead. Anxiously trying to control a future storm that may or may not arrive is just as futile. It drains the energy and focus you need to read the currents and adjust the sails right now in these very waters. The past is a memory, a story you tell yourself. The future is a projection, a story you imagine. Both exist only as thoughts in your mind, and when you live inside those thoughts, you abandon your post. Your power evaporates because you are not here to use it. Quiet dominance is exercised in the crisp clarity of the now, in the quality of your attention to the person speaking to you, in the full commitment you give to the task before you, in the conscious choice you make in this very second. Think of a simple conversation. If you are replaying a clumsy thing you said yesterday, you are not truly listening to the person in front of you today. Your presence is divided and the connection is weak, but when you fully arrive, when you leave that past blunder behind, your listening becomes profound. You hear not just the words, but the meaning behind them. Your responses become more thoughtful, your calm more palpable. This is how you command a room without ever raising your voice, by being completely there. The same principle applies to any challenge. A project feels overwhelming when you are mentally leaping ahead to all the potential problems and deadlines. But when you bring your entire focus to the single, immediate step, the next sentence to write, the next component to assemble, the overwhelm dissolves into manageable action. You are no longer fighting phantoms of the future or ghosts of the past. You are dealing with the substance of reality, one present moment at a time, and in that focused state, your effectiveness and your inner peace become one and the same. This quiet command of the present moment is a skill honed not in the crowd but in deliberate retreat. I find strength in solitude and self-reflection. In our hyper-connected world, being alone is often mistaken for loneliness, a state to be avoided at all costs. But the Stoics saw it as a necessary training ground, a sacred space where you withdraw from the constant chatter of society to hold counsel with your most important advisor, yourself. This is not about isolation or escaping your duties. It is about stepping away from the audience to ensure you are not performing a role written by others. In that quiet, you can examine your thoughts with brutal honesty. Why did that criticism bother me so much? Was my action today aligned with my values, or was it driven by a desire for approval? This internal dialogue is the engine of self-knowledge. The most famous example of this practice is the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He ruled the known world, surrounded by sycophants, generals, and endless demands on his attention. Yet he consistently carved out moments of solitude, often at night, to write in his private journal. We know this journal today as his Meditations. It was never intended for publication. It was his personal gymnasium where he would wrestle with his own weaknesses, reinforce his principles, and remind himself of his core Stoic beliefs. He was not writing philosophy for others. He was doing the hard, private work of building his own character, line by line. You do not need to be an emperor to practice this. The modern equivalent can be a daily walk without headphones, allowing your mind to process and untangle the events of the day. It can be 10 minutes with a journal before bed, where you ask yourself a few simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What is one thing I learned? This practice of self-reflection fortifies your principles without the distortion of external influence. It recharges your resolve by connecting you back to your purpose. In the silence, you remember who you are when no one is watching, and that authentic self-knowledge becomes the unshakable bedrock of your quiet strength. That self-knowledge forged in solitude extends to the very vessel that carries you through the world. Your body is the instrument through which your will becomes action. I treat my body as a tool, not an ornament. The Stoics held a beautifully practical view of our physical form. It is the temporary vessel for your mind, the vehicle that allows you to move through the world and perform your duties. It is to be cared for, maintained, and kept in good working order for the same reason a craftsman cares for their finest tools. A dull axe cannot cut wood. A broken chariot cannot complete a journey, but the axe is not the carpenter and the chariot is not the driver. Your body is not you. It is the reliable instrument you have been given to express your character. This distinction is a powerful liberation from the tyranny of appearance. When your body is an ornament, its value is determined by how it is seen and judged by others. This mindset chains your self-worth to the fleeting, unforgiving standards of beauty and the inevitable decay of age. Every wrinkle becomes a defeat, every stray gray hair a reminder of decline. But when your body is a tool, its value is measured by its function, its strength, and its resilience. Can it carry you through a long day of meaningful work? Does it have the energy to play with your children? Does it possess the vitality to support a clear and focused mind? These are the questions that matter. This perspective actively combats vanity and the deep-seated fear of aging or illness. A worn tool is not a failed tool, it is a well-used one, bearing the honest marks of a life fully lived. The focus shifts entirely from how you look to what you can do. This encourages profoundly practical health habits. You exercise not to sculpt a perfect physique for the mirror, but to build functional strength and endurance for life's demands. You choose nourishing food not to achieve a certain weight, but to fuel your energy and sharpen your mental clarity. You prioritize rest not as a luxury, but as essential maintenance for the system. This is about cultivating functional vitality. It frees up an enormous amount of mental energy once spent on comparing yourself to others, on fretting over imperfections, and on chasing an idealized image. That energy is then channeled directly into what truly matters: your actions, your relationships, and your purpose. You align your physical self with your philosophical mission, ensuring the tool is sharp, reliable, and ready for whatever task virtue demands. This readiness for the unknown transforms the very nature of fear itself. I am prepared for anything. This affirmation is not a hollow boast, but the quiet culmination of a powerful Stoic exercise known as the premeditation of evils. It is the mental equivalent of a fire drill. You do not conduct a fire drill because you want the building to burn down. You do it so that if smoke ever fills the hallways, your body and mind know exactly what to do. Panic is replaced by procedure. The Stoics applied this same principle to the whole of life. They would deliberately sit in quiet contemplation and mentally rehearse potential challenges, from the trivial, like being stuck in traffic, to the profound, like the loss of a job or a loved one. This is not pessimistic worrying, which is passive and fearful. This is active preparation, a strategic simulation run in the safety of your own mind. You walk through the scenario step by step. If this happens, what is the first rational thing I should do? What virtue would this situation require me to call upon? By doing this, you are building neural pathways of calm, effective response before you ever need them. When a real crisis then arrives, it feels strangely familiar. The element of shocking surprise is gone. You have already visited this territory in your imagination, and now you are simply executing the plan you rehearsed. A project you have poured your heart into is suddenly cancelled. The person who has not practiced premeditation is blindsided, their mind reeling with disbelief and anger. But you, having mentally rehearsed this very possibility, feel a different reaction. There is still disappointment, of course, but it is quickly overshadowed by a calm pivot. You take a deep breath, and your mind almost automatically begins accessing the next steps you had contemplated, the alternative paths you had already mapped out. This is the ultimate demonstration of quiet dominance, because it shows a mind that has expanded its territory of control by accepting and preparing for all possible futures. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a strategist who has already wargamed every contingency. Your peace is no longer dependent on everything going right, but on your unshakable confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. This seamless alignment between your inner world and your outer actions is the final pillar of a truly integrated character. My actions are aligned with my principles. This affirmation serves as your daily integrity check, a constant guardian against the slow erosion of self that occurs through hypocrisy. That feeling of discomfort you get after saying yes to something you know is wrong, or the subtle shame of staying silent when you should have spoken up, that is the signal of misalignment. It is your conscience reporting a breach in the inner citadel. Every time you act against a core value, you are essentially betraying the person you claim to be. This self-betrayal is a crack in your foundation, and it quietly leaks away your self-respect and confidence. Conversely, when your actions and values are in perfect sync, a powerful confidence takes root. It is not the loud, boastful kind, but a deep, unshakable certainty that you are who you say you are. This is what makes your quiet dominance credible. People might not always understand your philosophy, but they cannot help but respect the person who consistently lives by their own code. Your life itself becomes a testament to your beliefs, a silent argument more persuasive than any words. Imagine you value honesty above all else. The easy path in a business meeting might be to let a misleading statement slide to secure a deal. But if you are aligned with your principle, you will gently but firmly correct the record, even at the risk of losing the contract. In that moment, you are not just being honest, you are demonstrating that your integrity is not for sale. The short-term cost is a potential lost deal, but the long-term gain is a reputation for unwavering trustworthiness and the profound self-respect that comes from knowing you did the right thing when it was difficult. This congruence transforms your philosophy from an abstract idea into a living, breathing reality. You are not just studying Stoicism, you are embodying it with every choice you make, and that is the ultimate expression of quiet command. This final affirmation is perhaps the most liberating of them all. I am a work in progress and I embrace the journey. It is the humble recognition that the goal is not to become a perfect Stoic sage, a figure of flawless virtue who never feels a moment of anger or fear. That ideal is a guiding star, not a finish line. You are, in the beautiful Stoic term, a prokopton, a person who is progressing. This single shift in perspective is the key that unlocks self-compassion and fuels a true growth mindset. Without it, the previous 24 affirmations could become a source of immense pressure, a list of ideals you constantly fail to meet. You try to control your perceptions, but you still get angry. You aim to meet interference with kindness, but sometimes you snap. If you see these moments as total failures, you will eventually become discouraged and give up. But when you embrace the journey, every single stumble is reframed. It is not proof that you are bad at this, it is data. It is the curriculum of your personal school. That moment of anger is not a mark against you, it is a lesson plan titled, "Here is a trigger you still need to work on." This mindset transforms your entire relationship with self-improvement. The pressure to be perfect evaporates, replaced by a patient, persistent curiosity about your own growth. You start to appreciate the small, almost invisible victories, the time you paused for 2 seconds longer before reacting, the moment you caught a negative thought and gently redirected it. These are the real milestones on the path. This lifelong commitment to practice is the quietest form of dominance because it is directed entirely inward. It is the ultimate acceptance that you will never be done, and that is the point. The power is not in reaching a state of completion, but in the dignity and purpose you find in the daily effort itself. Your quiet dominance grows not from having conquered yourself, but from the joy you discover in the endless, honorable work of trying. This quiet dominance is not a destination you arrive at, but a practice you live every single day. These 25 affirmations are far more than a list of nice ideas. They are a rigorous training manual for the soul, a daily discipline that forges an unshakable inner sovereignty. They build the calm, decisive captain within you, the one who can steer the ship through any storm because the storm is no longer the enemy but part of the sea itself. Remember, the dominance we have cultivated is quiet by its very nature. Its power does not announce itself with loud demands or external force. It radiates silently through your actions, through your unshakable composure in a crisis, and through the unwavering strength of your character. It is felt in the room not because you are the loudest voice, but because you are the most grounded presence. This is the ultimate goal, to command your inner world so completely that your outer world naturally falls into a more purposeful and peaceful order. To begin weaving this into the fabric of your life, do not feel you must master all 25 at once. That path leads only to overwhelm. Instead, choose just 1 or 2 affirmations that resonated most deeply with you in this moment. Perhaps it is I respond, I do not react, to help you navigate difficult conversations. Or maybe it is I am a work in progress and I embrace the journey to grant yourself the grace to grow. Carry that single affirmation with you this week. Write it on a note card, set it as a phone reminder, and consciously apply it in your daily interactions. True transformation happens not in a single leap, but in these small, consistent steps of applied wisdom. I would love to hear which affirmation you are choosing to work on. Share in the comments below which one calls to you and how it is beginning to impact your perspective and your days. Your story could be the inspiration someone else needs to start their own journey. If this deep dive into Stoic resilience has provided you with a new sense of clarity and strength, consider subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell. We are dedicated to bringing you more of this timeless wisdom to help you build a better, more commanding life. Thank you for investing this time in your own inner citadel.